All right, well, Duncan, welcome to Coffee with Bruce.
Thank you, Bruce. Nice to be here.
So what I wanted to do today was talk a little bit about our respective experiences in leadership. And I've been thinking a lot lately about the idea of technical leadership, which is something I've done in a bunch of different roles over the years. But I think the almost 4 years that I had working for you, leading really quite a large, big technical organization, was one of the really formative experiences in my career. So that's what I wanted to talk about today. The opportunity that you offered was really something quite far outside my comfort zone. And so for me, it was both a chance to move somewhere that I wanted to move and do something that would give me a growth opportunity at a point in my career where I'd done a lot of different things, but I never actually led a really big team. And actually, one of the things that stood out to me was the idea that I would ultimately be leading a team of almost 600 people. And up until that point, the biggest thing I'd led was a group of 7 people. And so I remember saying to you, do you really want somebody who's only got the amount of experience that I have leading such a large team? So what were your thoughts when we had that discussion?
I must admit, I found it quite surprising because obviously having come up through different leadership roles and had very large teams, that concept of you've got to this point of your career and actually never had big teams. I guess what I was confident about is people follow leaders if you can provide structure, coaching, guidance, and help them. And so what you did have was incredible clarity around technology and where it was going, and confidence to stand up on stage, stand in front of a team, stand in front of customers, and hold your own. So then the difference was really around, so how do you scale that without killing you in the process?
Yeah. Yeah, this is kind of getting to one of the things I wanted to touch on, which I think that technical leadership, it combines a couple of different things. And you took a very strong position that your technical leader was going to be both the leader of the SE organization and the kind of technical spokesperson for your bigger organization. So combining the role of CTO, which is sometimes referred to as Chief Talking Officer, with the role of SE leader. But this idea that you combine those together, that was a distinctive view that you took, which is actually different than some of the other sales leaders across VMware. How did you kind of come to that idea that the person who leads the organization should also be the sort of the technical spokesperson?
I think the key one is it's around being connected to customers, and then around the difference the team can make. If you have the two separate, you run the risk of actually having management of a team different from leadership from the team. And so I'm actually at a fairly simple concept that the leader having subject matter expertise is part of how you help people decide what's important, where to focus, and you have more of a closed loop around, is it making an impact? It's not just about talking about it, you actually have to make it a reality, and it has to deliver value. And then you have to bring the whole team. You never bring the whole team, but you have to bring most of the team on that journey. So it's less theoretical.
Yeah. And I think for me, that was one of the things that I found really valuable about being in the sales organization, is that you've got a very practical set of things you have to get done. And that, ultimately, your job is to deliver revenue to the company. And you've got this whole technical pre-sales organization that is, you're trying to get them marching in a common direction to lead the customers to want to buy our products. But the pre-sales people are very much not salespeople. They are technical people. They love technology, and they're trying to help the customers understand what the technology can do for them. And I think one of the things that I found really interesting was kind of, what's your metric of success for a technical pre-sales organization? Because if you asked somebody who's delivering a revenue number, they would be tempted to say, well, as long as we hit the revenue number, it's all good. Whereas I think in a technical pre-sales organization, that's probably not the right metric. So what do you think of in terms of how you measure success for a technical pre-sales team?
Well, I think it comes back to, first off, around sustained organization success is more than making a sale. It's actually about people using it, particularly in software. The only value comes when it's actually in use. But that means if you to have sustained success and not just make a quarter, you actually need to worry about the things leading into it. And the things leading into it are actually around, do we understand the problem? And what we're proposing, does it solve the customer's issue? And have that well before we actually get to the sales process. And so then it makes it a really critical role around the technical team has in that engagement with customers to truly go that next layer, understand what's going on, can we help them accelerate? And so then there's a partnership that it's just different roles at different stages of the process.
Yeah, and I think there's a real sense of a different timescale too, right? That, you know, the salespeople can be measured mostly on what did you do this quarter, but the technical pre-sales team is really thinking about, will the customer want to keep buying from us 2 years from now? And how are we positioning things in such a way that, you know, 2 years from now, they will believe that we have the right solutions for them. And clearly, if you optimize for the short term, you can easily cannibalize that kind of long-term relationship. So one of the things I really enjoyed in my time working for you was kind of your level of experience in leading people was, you know, I think at the very top level, you know, in sort of people I've worked with over my career. And I think you're particularly experienced around building and managing diverse teams, you know, partly because you've spent so much of your career in Asia. But I was wondering, like, how do you take your kind of passion around diversity and apply it to technical teams?
I mean, I think the first thing is around, you know, is recognizing that as a leader, you're only made up as the sum of the people who work for you. And everything you invest in them helps them, you know, produce a better result, is how you end up with it in aggregate a better result. And so there's some really simple things. Diverse teams actually are what drive innovation and growth. And so the reason I'm passionate about changing the diversity is it brings a different lens, and you end up with a different view of the problem. And when you end up with a different view and you can have an open debate about it, it actually creates a better solution. And so part of it then is in investing in people, keep providing input, coaching and guidance. That is over time, if you've got that continual relationship and engagement, you then have the ability to say, well, what if we invest here? What if we change the diversity of our team? And we really want, you know, more, particularly women coming into the team to improve our ability to innovate.
Yeah. And one of the things I really liked seeing was, as we worked really hard on trying to build a more diverse team, it caused us to think a bit differently about what kind of roles we would hire people out of. And so we saw some really good examples of, you know, you just don't go and hire somebody who's already been an SE at another, you know, cloud company. You go and actually look for people who've done consulting roles, or, you know, roles that are a bit different. And so you're not just changing the gender balance, you're changing the set of experiences that people have, which, you know, leads to this better sense of how you approach the customer and how you bring a sort of complete view of what the customer's issues are. And so for me, I mean, a big experience in terms of how I thought about diversity was at one of the leadership summits, hearing the analysis of data that really showed from an engineering point of view how more diverse teams produce better results. And so it was great to actually see us putting that into practice.
Yeah, and I think as I watched you as a leader who went from, you know, holy crap, I'm taking on 600 people to be the leader, learning that, you know, it's about how you engage and how you get alignment. And actually people want help. They want coaching, they want guidance. And if you can drive alignment, in some ways it gets easier, but then you realize actually how many more things you've still got to work on. And it's a living organism, so it's never fixed. It's always, the market's changing, the people are changing, and you're always trying to drive that alignment. But it's also, you know, that's where the pleasure comes from, because when you see it start to happen and you've recruited some different people and they bring a different point of view, you can feel it go forward.
Yeah. Yeah, and honestly, I think for me, one of the reasons why I'm so happy I took that role was because I got to see the development of people over, you know, a long period of time. And I think that's one of the most satisfying things about being a leader.
Perfect.